There are 38 closed cities in Russia, with the total population of about 1 million people. You might think that these cities are just big prisons, but this is actually wrong. People live there voluntarily. In this video I included notes from the experts and the commentary from a person that actually lives in one of these closed cities. So let's begin. Once upon a time, every other city on earth was closed. Guards, towers, big borders, so that aliens wouldn't enter the land. Same is happening in the modern day Russia, where the closed cities aren't just banned for any foreigners. Regular Russian citizens need a special permission to enter them. They are completely normal towns with schools, apartments, families, and grocery stores. You just cannot casually visit them. I have a Russian passport, and I cannot just buy a ticket and rent a vodka B&B in this city. To move there for the permanent residence, I must have compelling and documented grounds, meaning that a note saying, "I just want to vibe here for a month or two," wouldn't work. Outside of Russia, there is no such thing as a closed city. According to historian Alexander Demanov, such idea first appeared in England in 1915. It was a gunpowder town near the Scottish border. Today, most countries only have strict military bases or corporate campuses. Russia took it to the next level. Back in the Soviet Union, there were way more of such places. The biggest of these cities had around 100,000 residents. Some cities were completely closed even to the Soviet citizens, while others, like Nizhny Novgorod with 1 million inhabitants, were only closed to foreigners. After the USSR collapsed, the slow process of opening up began, and it's still going. Nizhny Novgorod even hosted World Cup matches in 2018. I genuinely find this history fascinating. How did a country where people queued for bread manage to build a nuclear bomb and send the first human to space? Closed cities were a massive part of the answer. The Soviets loved their secret numbered cities that didn't even appear on normal maps. So if you would zoom in on a map, you wouldn't see a city, but just a forest. Arzamas 16, Zagorsk 6. I love those names. Now they have boring, regular names. Arzamas 16 became Sarov. From mysterious and ominous to "please invest in our regional economy," Soviet citizens had wild theories about these cities. Some people thought that the kind and friendly government of the USSR was building new gulags. And other citizens thought that it was experimental, unique places where the communism has been achieved. The second group wasn't entirely wrong, but we will get to that. Speaking of the name, why Arzamas 16 was exactly 16, and Zagorsk 6 was exactly 6? According to historian Timur Jalilov, the point was just to confuse foreigners. While enemies were losing their minds trying to solve the puzzle of the missing 15 Arzamases, Soviet scientists were just chilling, figuring out how to build the Tsar Bomba. Alright, so the names are meaningless. But what about the locations of these cities? The locations of these cities are by design selected in the middle of nowhere, so that you wouldn't accidentally end up there.
This city was built in a rather remote location, in a nature reserve in the middle of a forest. And quite a lot of time has passed since then. Now the city is already on all maps. It is possible to get there, but you can only get into it with a special pass.
So then why would anyone stay in these cities? In Soviet times, you had no choice. Today, it's low crime and slightly higher salaries. But back then, these places were magical. While the rest of the country stood in endless lines, closed cities had meat, decent clothes, TVs, and actual choices. Real oasis of a communism. Historians describe how socialism was basically achieved in these cities. A regular technical worker in Moscow got 120 rubles. In Arzamas 16, 200. That difference was massive. 80 rubles was a normal person's monthly salary. Stores had everything. It was the only place where the propaganda almost matched the reality. Historians note that in the Soviet Union there were 4 categories of distribution. The so-called special category was the capitals of the republics and Moscow, as well as the closed cities. So, the closed cities used to receive a special treatment from the government. And, according to Igor Nikulin, who is still working in one of these closed cities as a microbiologist, the stores in these cities had everything that was not available in other parts of Russia. Meat, drinks, any clothing, shoes, televisions, radios. Closed cities had the best infrastructure, proper sports field, cinemas, surrounded by the barbed wires, of course. It's an interesting paradox. It was the only place where regular Soviet citizens could feel incredibly free. And many girls strategically married naval officers just to get that stable, well-fed, closed city life. For scientists, it was a paradise. Total focus, no distractions, unlimited funding for defense research. Soviet Silicon Valley, except instead of some AI vibe coding apps, they built nukes. Let's then call it Nuclear Valley. Each city had a deadly serious purpose. Sarov built the nuclear bomb. Severomorsk is a navy hub. You can spot submarines there. They stayed closed so that foreigners wouldn't steal the secrets. Although the main nuclear design was partly stolen by the spy Klaus Fuchs, according to Yuli Hariton, who created the atomic bomb in the Soviet Union. I had a classmate from one of these cities. Super quiet guy. He said maybe 9 or 10 words in 2 years. Looking back, I see that he was the perfect ambassador of this city. Invisible, mysterious, low profile. Exactly what the city ordered. These cities are still overseen by the heavy hitters. Ministry of War, Rosatom, which works on the nuclear industry, and Roscosmos, which works on the space-related industries. So what is life like in the closed cities these days? I've traveled all over Russia, from the easternmost point to the westernmost, from the far north to the south. It wouldn't be a stretch for me to say that all Russian cities have the classic Soviet vibe. So would you be surprised that closed cities aren't exactly tropical paradises? They are basically the same, but with better fences.
When we were school children, we used to ski along the paved forest paths. And if you accidentally turn off and try to go straight through the forest, you'll eventually run into a barbed wire fence. Meaning you can't just avoid the checkpoint.
Let's now look at the case of Sarov. When a kid in Sarov turns 14, they get their very own pass to go through the checkpoint. It's like getting your first passport, except it lets you leave and re-enter your city. The whole place is wrapped in barbed wires, with soldiers and dogs posted every few meters. If you are not registered in Sarov, there are exactly 4 ways to get in. But make sure you don't have any other citizenship besides Russian.
Yeah, guests cannot easily access the city. 2 to 3 months in advance, you need to get a permit for your relatives that want to visit the city. For example, in case of funerals, you'd need a permit. It'd be better to do it 6 months in advance. Although, regarding funerals, of course you can't know whether you're going to have funerals in 6 months. But if you have some other event, like wedding, then you can ask the government representatives to give you a permit. They will be handling your case for about 2 months.
About half the residents work at the Nuclear Research Institute. They earn a bit more than the national average, which is nice, but that's pretty much the main perk. The closed cities still do the serious science. 5 years ago, one of them, Zagorsk, helped develop the Sputnik 5 COVID vaccine. So about half of the residents of Sarov work at the institute at the nuclear center. And here is what the dorms for the institute workers look like. Would you like to live in this building?
Is it true that it's so safe in the cities that you might leave your cars and doors to the apartments open?
If someone is trying to take your car, they will have to leave the territory. Then it'd be on all the cameras and so on. So it just doesn't make sense to steal here.
A 2-bedroom apartment in Sarov goes for around $120,000. Not terrible for a nuclear hub. Let's see what the actual people say.
There's really nothing to do in the city. The people are mostly closed. We had a department chief who accompanied us. You couldn't learn anything about life from him. Any serious conversation, he would turn into a joke. And also, we explored the city inside and out in a week. Those factory checkpoints with security checks and guards scurrying around everywhere. I remember with a smile how I hid my phone and camera memory card in my socks every time. I live in another well-known, closed military city in Russia. It's also supposedly fenced in, and entry is by pass. Here's what we have in reality. First, they don't look at passes at the checkpoints, and they don't inspect cars for foreigners. Someone managed to show a piece of paper from a car window, which they mistook for a pass. Yes, they do look through the car window. Second, there are lots of holes in the fence. People have even made doors in some of them. And here's a funny part. The map in the local taxi app even shows something like hole by the gas station.
It's also worth noting that other people say they had good gates in their closed cities. So what do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Would you want to live in a closed city? Let me know in the comments.